I'm gonna play some stuff. This is the ODS project. I'm gonna be pulling apart some tracks from the ODS EP, um, which is the recent one that I just put out. Um, this one is ODS itself, which was probably the most popular one, which I did some really weird shit to. So I'm excited to show you guys what I did. Just gonna make sure the sound is all good. We are recording. Yeah, cool. Let's hope the CPU on my MacBook can handle this. Breaking down Sinner. I wasn't planning to. No, I was gonna do Odious and Dawn. I could probably hop in it for a little bit if we have time at the end, but yeah, I'll show you Odious first. So let me just gonna play this through and make sure you guys can hear everything okay.
Death to all.
Okay, so there's a tiny bit of CPU overload, so I'm gonna freeze the VSTs real quick so we run smoothly. But I'm gonna basically break down how I got the idea for this track, how I created because this whole EP has a kind of story behind it. Like I created a character called Odious, and I created. It's like an entity, or like, any negativity about me as a person. I kind of created this character called Odious, and I basically, what it means is I'm channeling all like any of my negative thoughts or energy in general into my music and creating this mood and setting. So this track here was obviously the most important one, being named Odious. Okay, so while I just freeze these couple of tracks here, I want you guys to ask me if you got any questions at all before I start breaking down this track. Feel free to ask. But so this track, I wanted to create because as it's being called Odious, I wanted it to set the mood for the entire EP, as well as resonate as much as possible with the character that I created, so you could kind of get the vibe that I was giving off. And I wanted it to kind of be kind of like Underworld, how I did that, like pretty much like it's another world, or like Stranger Things, like the Upside Down. I wanted to kind of create like a mood like that. Yeah, I'll be going into the sound design of the basses. They were really, how I made them is very weird. So I will show you how I did that. So basically, I started with this effect, was how I started the song. I like using, instead of going to splice and using samples, I do that, but I kind of look for movie score like I like creating movie scores or finding packs, kind of I guess sample packs that are made for movies and adding into TV shows, things like that, because I find they're more they give more of a character to my songs. So like this one here is an atmospheric sound. Some of these are frozen. This one here
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
One here was a couple of atmospheric sounds like that are used normally for movies and stuff like that I can combine. It's almost like Silent Hill kind of sound. And I have Massive X here. This was when I just got Massive X and was messing around with it. I've got the main sub intro, which is just like a kind of pluck sub to set the mood and make it sound intense. And I've got a main lead. Like that's kind of a similar vibe to Underworld, how it's kind of creating a world. And I've got, as the track goes on, I'm bringing in more and more to make it more interesting as it goes, so it's always getting more interesting. And again, so lots of different layers that make up what sounds like one whole sound. I'm gonna get into the drop because that's what most people are asking right now. So I'm gonna play through it again once more.
All. Death to all.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, this one was really weird how I made this. I became obsessed with, like, I know every artist is trying to be unique, but I became really obsessive with trying to be as weird as I possibly could, and just the way I made this was very, very out the way to how I normally do it. I do have the patch here frozen, and this is the frozen sound there. There's multiple things going into this, but I'm going to break it down from the top. So the drums, a lot of people last time on my last stream found that I made my drums pretty simple in terms of processing, which, yeah, I still do that. On this channel, nothing. This sample here, I found, like, it's important to find for like the beginning a good sample or making a good kick. So then you don't have to do a lot of processing to it. Like, as long as, like, this one I went for it because it had the really nice transient at the start, which is what I really needed in this. The snares are multiple. Again, not much processing, just a bit of EQing to get rid of some of the low end. Like this had a kind of a wobble in the low end. So really not a whole lot going on in there. I've got a transient shaper on here just to adding soft clipping and up in the attack to make it more punchy. And that's all I did for that. Like, not every project I have little processing. Like some I do, but I just simply found drums that hit hard and worked really well with this track. So I didn't really need to do a lot of work here. The synths. Now, I have metal stabs here. I have a lot of things that are emphasizing each part, so like every kick and snare. every transient, I have a sound that's going to emphasize each part to make it pop. So that's over the snare. You can barely hear it in the song, but it makes a big difference. And then I've got this shimmer, which is like kind of like reverb. It basically like smooths it out and gives it a little bit of reverb. And I've got a multiband on there. I'll go into this Fab Filter Pro multiband in a little bit. And I got a frequency shifter on there too. Here, I like to use a lot, like I said, a lot of movie kind of sounds. And this one here is another one, like an industrial movie sound. Hoping my internet is cool. Let me check it out real quick. Drums that hit hard. Cool. Let me know if we're all good, because it looks all good on my end. What's up? Let me have a look at this. Yo. I already am, yeah. It is? Okay. Let me check this. Cool. Alright, I had a Dropbox uploading, which I just paused. So, yeah, just keep me updated in the chat. Alright, see ya. Hopefully the connection picks up. Okay. Where was I? The industrial sounds. Internet kind of dying. Internet. Down here I have. That's to emphasize every kick in the track. Again, like a lot of people would call this with a lot of these sounds, people call them bass sounds. And therefore, you know, it's fine to call it that, but most people think they all need bass in them, but they don't. They're mids. These are all mid sounds. The sub is the only thing in your drop, generally, that you want a real low end in. Let the sub do the work, all the work of the low end. You know, I have the sub separate completely from the mix, doing its work, and then everything in this drop is pretty much all cut out from. I leave about 80 for some areas, because 80 is where the warmth sits. Hopefully that's better. Let me know in the chat, because it's looking okay from my end right now. Okay, yeah, so I was talking about this mid here. Has no low end, even though in the track it sounds like it is. What else do I have in here? Multiple layers. This one here is just emphasizing each snare. We're all good. I think the internet is okay now. Awesome. So these are all. It's not just the drums that's making those big stompy hits. Like they're mainly for the transient to give it that initial hit. But all these little parts in here that you're seeing on the kick and snare are all the real main factors in making this really stompy. Because I find that. A lot of people ask me, you know, how do you find these drums and things like that, when it's actually a lot of layering going on. But when you're doing layering, you need to be really careful with where they're sitting, how much room they're taking up in the spectrum, things like that, which I can go through. Here really emphasizes the high end, but I've dipped it there just so just a little bit so the snare can pop through. Is it still a bit laggy? Hopefully, 50 it fixes up. I've got the knocks here. Hopefully it fixes up. I've got the knocks here. 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 I've which I actually, they're the same knocks that I used in Create Undead with Sudden Death. And I have, that's another kind of industrial sound. It was a mixture that I put together of metal hits, a vocal, things like that. And I've got a transient shaper again, really high attack on it, and clipping, and cutting off. There's a bit of a sub on it as well, which I've got cut off, which gives it, again, it's for all the transients, all those little bits in there that you want to pop out. That's just a simple riser effect here. Again, there for the kick for every stomp. Right here, this gives it the rhythm. And this sound here it's just a serum. It's actually a Tracy growl that I used with OTT. It's got a bit of phaser corpus on it. Yo-Man is what the main factor in that one is, because I love how it widens the sound. I don't really, I try to avoid using it on big sounds, or like, main parts of your sound, because it can kind of mess up the dynamic sometimes. But I find if you use like Yo-Man on little kind of snippets, it can really bring it out. And then down here is the big boy. Okay, so this is the one that most people want to know how I did it. I will go into it now. So I'm going to unfreeze it. So we'll start with the serum patch. Now what I did is, it's this thing that I like to do to make kind of weird sounds. It's basically, in this one I've got the ICANN has kick, but I generally will try and find, I'll use any kicks. I go through random kicks, make a kick and drag it in. And I'm basically, instead of kind of trying to find a good sound by processing a whole bunch in Serum, I just kind of go through the waveform and I basically zoomed in so far into it. So what you're hearing, instead of the sound how it's supposed to be heard, I've got it so pitched down and zoomed in on the waveform that what you're hearing is, when you see a kick waveform, just like there it is right here, it's actually, the sound you're hearing is it bumping over these little waves in the sample, and generally you won't be able to hear that without the processing. So the way I did it was broad it out a lot by using different things to widen the sound and bring out that frequency. It sounds like a kind of brass sound, like if you listen to it. But it's not at all. It's just the teeth. When you zoom in on a kick, it's just the little teeth. Kind of like when, I guess it's a little bit similar to how Snails, like how he made that Snails bass, was using a kick and having it pretty much like rotate really quickly to kind of create that buzzy sound, the snail sound. It's kind of like that, but I've done the opposite and it's zoomed right in. On here, I've got, there's a lot of expanding of the dynamics in this to bring out that sound. So I might actually, I'll just pull apart this one. So on its own, we'll start from the beginning. So this is what it sounds like. And it's just, I'm using a lot of expanding the dynamics of that sound and distorting it a whole bunch, the delay on it, and also I've got the unison is up. Cool, everyone can hear me? Sweet. The unison is up on it, so it's actually, how a kick is supposed to be mono. This one is not. It's very stereo, so that it kind of phases it in a way and makes it sound really phasey, which is what I was kind of going for, to give it lots of width. And like if I go down to 0, you can kind of hear how it's going over every cycle of the kick. Like if I was to speed that up, it would just turn into a buzz kind of sound. Everyone kind of knows what the ICANN has kick sounds like. So then if I move this, so it's on 8.74, it will change drastically, and you'll hear that it will speed up, and you'll hear each waveform cycle quicker. That's all it is. That's the sound. Sounds a bit like snails. Let me go back to where I was. It's around here. That's fine. And then after that, so I've got this, which is just a rack with phaser and corpus OTT and a little bit of a fat rack. So I'm, again, kind of compressing it, distorting it, phasing it again to widen and bring that sound out. So when I turn this on, and it really brings that sound out. So like it's taking such a simple and easy sound and just messing with, like, because a lot of people, like if you mess with a sound, if you're working on something and you mess with a sound, you'll feel like you'll kind of feel like you've done too much to it or that you can't do anymore. But if you think about it, all the samples that you work with or the presets you work with, it's just someone else messing with the sound a whole bunch, and then they've probably stopped and gone, oh, I probably shouldn't do anymore. There is no limit to how much you should do. Like this sound, I probably a year ago or so, I probably never would have gone this far to mess with a sound. Like I would have probably heard this and gone, that kind of sounds boring, and I would have gone and looked for something else. Or, you know, because a lot of people will go into an oscillator, for example, and straight away try and find something that's really cool sounding, but it's generally never going to sound good until you add a lot of processing and so on to it. So I just kind of bit the bullet and messed with a bunch of really simple sounds and tried to like bring them out as much as possible, and then I came up with this. So that's where it's at right now. So that's got a phaser on it, corpus, OTT, and the VR fat rack, which is just literally compressing it, saturating it, really. Close that up. I did have the Yeoman on it just to experiment. I was going to like bring it in and out sometimes, but I ended up not using it. But that is really cool, and I might use it for another song. I love messing with this. Oh, that's another song right there. Jesus. I don't feel like making a song, but I can't. I gotta show you this. I gotta show you this project. I got this. The EQ8 is just bringing out the teeth, so that's all that's doing. Not a tip for you guys for how with mixing. If you're trying to say you made a cool sound, and then a lot of people go straight to just fat racking it and compressing the shit out of it. Before you do any of that, just simply put an EQ on it and just search for the area you want to bring out. I got the multi-band. Now this thing here, if you got, something in my throat. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a multi-band compressor. So you can compress the signal and EQ it at the same time. And I love using this tool because if you've got like a part of the song, so like before I used this, I think it was a bit too powerful, the teeth of the synth. Like when everything's in the mix, it was a bit too much. So I use this, which basically is going to compress the area that I was looking for. So you see how I boosted it here, compressed it here, and it basically, like, you get to keep the sound, but get rid of the mess. Like I'll move on to other sounds where I use this more, but it basically lets you keep the sound that you're going for, but and get rid of the mess. And then the manipulator. So this tool here. Is what is the kind of icing on the cake. I mess with this sound so much. I could get so many sounds out of this. And that's basically how I made this. Like this, if you don't know what this manipulator is, by the way, it's an infected mushroom plugin, and it basically just distorts it. It distorts the stereo, detunes. It's kind of like, you know, what's that, Portal, the plugin where you can kind of stretch and smear stuff, and it's really cool. Get it back to where it was. But I'm not using this channel, so I'm not afraid to mess with it. But yeah, that's the main bass, and it ended up. It does sound different now, but this is what it ended up like. And so those brass sounds that people thought it was is actually just the oscillator going over the teeth of the kick. That's all that is, and I'm just bringing it out more by distorting and stereoizing it. And it doesn't mean you even though you're learning this, doesn't mean you have to necessarily get a kick and do it. You can get any sound. Just find something, like, even if there's a sample with a really cool quiet part in it or whatever, just bring it out as much as you can. And move on. On this here is the growl, which is, again, this one has been resampled. And this has got the similar kind of processing. I got the Yo-Man on. It's frozen right now, but it's just it's actually the same sound. So let me just real quick freeze this one because I have a old MacBook. If you got any questions about that bass, let me know, and I can answer them now. So this one here is the same sound, but I've just changed the speed, the pattern of it. Actually, it's got a different oscillator on A. So it shows really how much you can do once you kind of figured out a way to make a weird sound. Then you can just experiment with dragging different wavetables in. And that's basically, it's very similar processing, but a different wavetable in oscillator A. And I do make a lot of those where I'll layer them in different pitches and then resample them. Moving on, got some brass sounds. I love putting brass sounds on the kicks because that's how I like getting that evil kind of sound. And it's a really weird industrial sounding song, but it has melody and rhythm to it that, you know, a lot of people try and just make the craziest things. And what we got here? Not actually that much. Like, I know a lot of people do mess with master tuning quite a bit. But if anything to do with, like, I like to mess with the pitch. I like to put LFOs on the actual pitching up the top and mess with those. But I don't really mess with master tune a whole lot. Just something I don't really get around, but I'll have to get into it. So if then brass wasn't there, I think it would get rid of a lot of the melody. I think it really adds to it. This one here. Oh no, that's some of these sounds are off because I spent so long messing with this project and making sounds and dropping shit in, trying to make it as best as possible. The sub here is, like I said, completely separate. I've frozen it, but it's just it was just from me messing with a hip hop sub, and because I find that's the cleanest one, I've always used that one. And then I've got it boosted here at 80. Even though it's not its fundamental, I like to boost it there because that's where, when you're in a club or whatever, and the warmth that hits you in the chest, that's where that sits, around 80 hertz. Mastering I will get into once I've gone through this project. So yeah, the sub, keep it separate and let the sub do all the low end work. So that's the only kind of sound that should be taking up for 30 up to 80 hertz really. Effects. What have I got here?
Death
So that's pretty much the first drop anyway. So there's a lot of things in there that are contributing. I'd say the two main elements is obviously the main bass and this one here. Without this one, I was actually really stuck on it because I couldn't really figure out where it was going. I know it was a cool kind of sounding song, but I didn't know what to do with it. But just adding that simple rhythm just turned it. Like, it sounds so empty without that. It's just a simple. I guess I'll move on to the other drops while I'm in this section. So this is the second drop in it. You can see that I use the growls a lot more in this one because I think they sound so evil, these ones here. And that is, again, just a really basically zoomed in on the waveform to get that sound and bringing it out, and it sounded so... I love that kind of sound. Evil. Damn. There is a lot of the first drop, but I've just kind of changed it around a lot. So these industrial sounds here play a big part in this. So instead of using instead of using knocks, I decided to use like metal scrapes and stuff like that. And that's really what adds to the swing of this drop. And then also the this sound again is probably again the main contributor in like knitting this whole song together, because it gives it the rhythm. And then down here we have, yeah, coming out with a solid flow. I guess one of the big things that I find that people do is they'll try and add drums first. And I don't know about you guys, but I find, or you might just realize this now when I'm saying it, but if you add drums first, or like a pattern of drums, then when you try and make the basses, you kind of have to stick to that pattern, and you're trying to make something to fit that. It's just, I feel like it's the same with any scenario. If you've been given a structure, you have to make something exactly for. It can be a lot more difficult to come up with an idea. So I generally will just start by making a bass sound or a cool synth, and just sitting there playing on the keyboard and messing around with it. Or I'll get samples or industrial sounds, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And I'm just kind of placing them around randomly until you kind of get inspired. Like a lot of the ideas that I get will be like, oh, you know, maybe it reminds me of a movie I saw or a game. And then from there it will go, like a theme. And then I'll start to build off that. But yeah, with the flow, I just kind of start with one sound, and I'll put it in, like, I start off very simple as well, and then I'll maybe try and introduce some other stuff to kind of counteract it. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is just try not to make it to a drum beat already, is a good way to get a good flow. What have we got here? So with being on the flow subject, a lot of these things here, like this, without them there, like if I take one of these things out, I think it really dulls the song. And it's like the first drop doesn't have that, but I think, and that's on purpose so that it kind of makes the second part more interesting, and also the second drop doesn't have that really crazy bass sound. So when I introduce it in, it kind of gives it more of a step. So like, especially if you headbang into it. That sound there, I'm pretty sure, was I think it was a vocal or something like that. I do a lot of texturizing. So like, I'll show you a bit of that in a minute, but I just remembered that I've got this one sound here that I didn't show you guys. It is frozen purely because I kept having issues with Massive. It kept on, even though it was updated, it kept on changing my sound all the time. So I have this. This is actually the same sound from Destroy Humans, like the sustain. And I wanted to create a sustain that was, there's a lot of dubstep songs that have sustains that kind of are really, high, not that I don't like them, I use them in my songs, but like the high pitch kind of almost mono sounds. And I wanted to create something that was like really kind of took up the whole stereo image and sound really, of course, really evil. So yeah, it's like it's the Massive sound. Actually, I'll see if I have it around here. I think I do. In the second drop, it's changed slightly. That's in drop 3. It's this sound right here, but I've just basically added a lot more voices. What bass sound? Yeah, see right now it's even just states disabled. Like I have to kind of reopen it and remake it or open up the preset again. But it's like kind of reminds me of like a really angry person screaming, and it sounds cool. And then this one is just very much stereoized and added unison. You can see it's like a higher note and a lower note put together. And then again, I had to just a little bit of EQing here to make that actual real vocal part pop through. And that's all I did on that one. Got the knocks again, just to add transients. I think that was like a laser sound that I've done a whole bunch of texturizing to. So that's like I've actually used this sound. It's in Dawn as well, I think, or a similar sound. But I basically just take the same sound and change the texture or change the processing so it makes a whole new sound. Like instead of trying to look for a whole different sound. And there is the other parts here. That one's not in this drop. What else we got? That's a frozen Massive sound. That was a sustain. I believe. Is there more of it? Yeah. I'm pretty sure I used Manipulator on it. The Infected Mushroom sound, but I think it was just too crazy, so I just used it as a little hit for each snare. I'm pretty sure it is. It makes the whole thing sound like some alien kind of scream or some shit. So the second drop is actually just a whole bunch of different elements coming together. And the last drop is kind of, I more simplified it and just try to make it more aggressive.
Death to all.
I like to create the songs, so like I know a lot of people say that my drops get more progressive towards the end, like the last drop's always got the most in it, and that's because I find that I like the songs to be like a story. So the more further you get into it, the more crazy it's going to get. Like I know that I used to get a lot of advice from people saying I should make the first drop the most craziest, and I think make it interesting, but to catch people's attention. But I like the fact that the people that actually appreciate it and dig into the song and enjoy listening to it will appreciate that I kind of create this story. So it's each part is like, like I've created this whole world. It's like walking through each doorway, and the last part is just like mayhem. So like the first one's really cool flow. Second one's like a breakdown. of the first drop, changing up the flow, and the last one's just absolute mayhem.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Mayhem, like compared to the first one. And then the final stage. Just to finish it off, and you'll find that most of my songs are like that. But yeah, is there any more questions on this tune before I show you guys another one? The vocal here also. That vocal is also from movie score soundtracks. Not soundtracks, but sound packs, I guess. The vocal, I guess I would mention the vocal because...
Death to all.
So, finding vocals, another question a lot of people ask, how do you find good vocals? Or, you know, you can either find a good one on Splice, which is where most people look for them, or record your own and process it, which is also another good way. But I will go over the sustain bass again for you in a sec. What I did here was, this is pretty much, I just searched Google for weird priests saying messed up shit, basically. That's what that sound is. That is like it's like a cult leader. I guess not a priest. It's more like a cult leader in a real video on like YouTube or some shit. And he's just talking to people saying all these random words. And I'm pretty sure there is. If I didn't freeze it too much, damn, I did. Is there any more of it? Because I
will lead you to death.
Yeah, so he just says like a whole bunch of weird shit. Oh, here we go, look.
I will crush you. They chose me to lead. I will lead you to...
That's not a sample pack for a movie. That's an actual person talking about that. The world we live in.
The gods are back. Power I have will crush you.
I could use all of those, and that's just one dude reading from some book, you know, saying some shit. And then I just made it sound more evil by using, I'm pretty sure I just used texture. Yeah, so I just added deformance. Like, it's another way you can really mess with a vocal, even if it's your own vocal. What we got here? I will go over the mastering for you. What we got here from Hillbilly Lo-Fi. You talk about the story a lot. I think it's the crux of the matter. Musical conversation. How do you approach that? Like, you have a whole picture. Oh, okay. I kind of do. I find that I always gravitate towards really horrible sounds, I guess. Which, like a lot of the comments on my SoundCloud and stuff, are you okay? And stuff like that. But it's because I guess I mean, like, I like horror. I play horror video games. I watch horror movies. And I always, like, even when I started on trap music, it went from, like, future bass and happy stuff, which was what I started. You know, I was messing with, like, remixing Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that. And then I just kept on ending up making these really evil sounds, and it never fitted with any of the songs I made. So then it just got, like, progressed more and more. So, like, I intentionally started this whole project, like the Odious EP, with a kind of, I guess, evil mindset, like... so that's how I kind of do it. Like, I will add like a sound if it's any kind of sound, like if it's just a bell. Like on this one, it was like I said at the start, it was just this sound, which reminded me of like some, you know, evil layer or another world, like the Upside Down. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to create this whole kind of creepy, like you're in just this massive world of evil shit. I don't know. It's weird how my brain works.
Yeah.
I will quickly go over this vocal. If you add it to Complex Pro, and like instead of just trying to kind of pitching it up and down and seeing if it sounds cool, try pitching it a certain way and then changing the formants up and down, because you can get a really cool sound out of doing out of just the littlest movement. So like I'll pitch it right down. You know? could pitch it right up and try it.
Death to all.
It's like that little kid from Shrek.
Death to all. Death to all.
And it sounds like a completely different person saying it. What other questions we got here? So the master. So for this, like I'm gonna specify that it's just for bass. This kind of really heavy bass music that I make. I'll put a master on, and I'll mix into it. Like I generally I make hip hop and all sorts, and I don't do that. I'll master it afterwards. But it is pushing into the master a lot. But I put it on at the start and then I process it. But lately I actually, because this project I started like a year ago maybe. Now I kind of just work with really simple things on the master. So even just a soft clipper, and then I'll do all the work in the mixdown, because at the end of the day, it's all down to your mixdown, not the master. You know, a lot of people barely have anything on the master, and that's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. Like this project here, I probably wouldn't do it this way now if I started a new one or the latest ones that I've got. I try and do all the, if there's any compression or anything like that you want to do, I just do it in the individual channels now, and just have the master soft clipping to give it that kind of top layer of distortion that makes it appear even louder. And that's actually how we dubstep guys get the really loud sound without it like distorting the hell out. But yeah, so that's how I do it. What else have we got before sustained basses? Let me actually just I'll pull up the actual massive sound real quick and I'll show you it. Praying the CPU's gonna be okay. Ah, damaged. Oh wait, no, it's this one. Oh. That's really weird. This happens to me like every time I have an update. I don't know why, but I have to pretty much reinstall it. Let me have a look. Is it this one maybe? Yeah, it's just damaged apparently. Since I updated my computer. But the sustains I use are pretty simple, and then I'll just the way I'll make them sound really interesting is just by widening them and detuning and stuff like that. But it's a shame that I can't actually show you this one because it's really interesting how it was done. Where is it? But I could probably, if we've got time at the end, I could probably go through and make one. It's up to you guys. But what else? Soft clip. I use the Pro Limiter Fab Filter to soft clip. Is there any more questions on this project before I move on to Dawn? This project is Dawn. I'll play through it first so you can hear it if you haven't heard it before. Okay, so I'm sure most of you have heard this song. This one is actually it's interesting how I made this one because it's a lot different from. I kind of went with this, obviously the same approach going for the ODS EP with the same kind of theme. This one again is just like almost like walking through another kind of realm in this in this weird world that I was creating. So that's what the intro is trying to give off. Almost like you're going through a portal or something. And that sound there is actually I did a lot of for this one I actually did a lot of resampling, of even making stuff and just resampling it over and over, or getting samples and just messing with them and just see. I think I made this project when I started it to just see how much I could mess with sounds, and it ended up being one of the songs. So I'm pretty sure this here, for example, I'm pretty sure it's just like an Oshi future bass sound or something that I'm kind of stretched out and I was like, it sounds cool, but it sounds like someone's purposely sped it up. So I thought I'd just mess with it and pitch it, and so I've got quite a bit of Yeoman on this, but not for purely for the purpose of making it really wide in certain areas. Like you'll see when I move on to the drop, there's a lot of areas that I've got it on to purposely pop them out real quick and make them really wide. Pretty simple intro. Got the Moog sub in this one instead of the hip hop sub. It's a cool rack, Moog sub rack. It's just pretty much more analog and more of an analog-y kind of sound. Got like a bunch of scary, again a bunch of like scary score kind of music, and a lot of them are for. So when I did university, I had to do a lot of scoring. So I've got a lot of packs that I made or gathered from doing that. So I love using those. And the drums on this one again are very similar. Like I just found or made, like I like to use Kick 2 to make some drums sometimes, or I'll just simply find a really cool drum pattern or drum sound, sorry. On this one you just got a little bit to emphasize certain areas. That's actually quite a big EQ bandwidth. This is a cool trick that I like to do. So like the shuffle here, just to make it a little bit more, just a subtle dimension expand, just to widen it a little bit. It's almost like the shimmer effect, if any of you guys use that. But I found it actually gave a better, it made it sit in the mix better. The drums this has only got a little snare. And I just up the high end. It was a pretty simple sound. I didn't like the snare wasn't a real focus of this song, even though it's important that it's there. But it's just kind of just to let you know that there is a snare there, but it's just gentle. And processing on anything else, yeah, just a hard cutting anything that doesn't need any low end. Hats and stuff, I'll just cut all the way out. Some clip max and transient shaper on the intro drums, and just a transient shaper to top it off. Pretty simple processing on them. Like if I am gonna make something, like say just to show you guys, if I was going to approach making this kick stronger or what to do with it, the first thing I would do is EQ. Where is the EQ? So before I go on it and try and do anything drastic, I would just simply put an EQ on it and find the points where the transients hit the most, and I would just simply try boosting them first, because that could be the easiest way to make your kick pop. So like I'll just search through, I'll click the headphone. That's a good spot. This is generally where the click's going to be and where it's going to pop through the mix. But it's not in that case. There you go. So that alone is it's kept its dynamics, but just boosted the transient that I wanted. I could just, so that's one way I would do it, is just simply EQing and that's quite a lot of EQing, but just simply doing that can really enhance your drums, and that's not just for your kick, it's for your snare as well. I've got a high shelf on this, but if I wanted this to pop through even more, like I could do that. I could just find that area. That actually sounds even better, but And then you can see when you look at the waveform of any drum sound, you can normally tell, especially the snare. Actually, you can see the fundamentals of like the main frequencies it's giving off, and just search for those and see what they sound like as well. So like, so I can see this one here is pretty important. So that gives it more body, which actually makes it sound even better than the original. But you know, you live and you learn. So that's pretty much the drums. Very simple. The drop. So unfortunately, like a lot of it, well, I guess it's not unfortunate, but a lot of it's frozen and flattened a lot because the way I made this stuff was just kind of, you know, how I was going through having these big chains that are doing really weird stuff, and sometimes you feel like you're doing too much. That's the point where I'll freeze and flatten it and just start processing again, like it's just some sample that I just dragged out, brand new, because that's a good way to just keep getting weirder and weirder. I've got the mid hits, so you'll find again, like Odious, this one's got a lot of sounds that are just emphasizing each little part instead of trying to make the whole sound fit through the whole song. That's actually the sound from my track. The one I put on SoundCloud about a month ago, Mask On, that's actually the synth from that. And that's just to add a bit of crunch to the kicks. I guess that's the reason why my drums are pretty simple. It's because a lot of the body of the drums is also from these mids in the track and the highs. This one here, that one there, I think is actually one of those laser sounds. Like a lot of the sounds here, like I said, are the same sound but just manipulated massively. So this one's been stretched out and pitched again. I've got drum booth presence. That's like a reverb, just to give it like a little kind of shell of dynamics around it. Got OTT on this one just because it had a lot of the reason why I put that on there, because it had little bits in the sound in the waveform that I wanted to bring out more. That's the only reason I used it. It dynamically was actually fine, but it just brings out a lot that I wanted to bring out. Getting rid of all the lows, leaving 80 in to give it the warmth. But yeah, the main thing I guess on this one is the drum booth presence, because while it's playing, because you've got lots of stuff that's really tight and sitting in its space, this one here just comes in every bar and just has a really big stereo image on it. And mixing, so like when you're structuring your songs, also think about, you know, what's dynamic and what's not, because then you can make the song pop out at you. So that also contributes to the flow, the swing of the track. So that being really wide suddenly on every snare just makes the song sound like it's popping out at you. That's really important to do. This lead here is the same, but changed. And I do remember what I did to it. I pretty much had a manipulator. So I'll show you some of the cool stuff you can use with manipulator. I'll just put it back on this sound and just show you. But it was basically like a laser sound. The way you can easily make a laser sound just by going on Serum, getting majority of wavetables, and then just putting an LFO on the pitch and just make it like pitch from up to down. It will go, and then you can just make one of those sounds. And then from there, I just kind of resampled it and then put all this processing on it. So like if I go on this one, there's all the really cool presets as well. You know, I could just sit here and make VIPs for days just with this thing. But like, I'll use this and then I'll use a bunch of other things. I'm pretty sure I did use like some phasing, but I always turn, with the phaser, I always turn the frequency, like the rate, off, so it's not moving in and out, so it's just one kind of solid sound. But yeah, this is a really cool tool. That was one of the main contributors. I think I used on the Serum sound. I also like to LFO the LFO in and out the dimension expander. So like as it gets kind of to these like main points of the sound, I turn the dimension expander up so it goes wide, then more mono, then more wide as it's going through. I'm pretty sure this one here is that's just a different pattern but the same sound. The fills I use are basically how I make these. Instead of trying to find, I try and avoid just trying to find a cool fill, because there's a good chance that other people are using it as well, and I don't really want that. So I'll just find any sound really, or anything that's kind of got a lot going on, and then I'll just change the hell out of it. So like, I could do so much stuff to that. I could sit here and do so much and make like 100 fills out of that and have them throughout the song. But that's basically how I make the fills, just really weird sounds, whatever they are, and just manipulating the hell out of them so they're basically not even musical. And I've got some more here. This was actually how I made these. This is another way I make fills. I might have gone through this before, but basically I'll just grab a bunch of weird sounds and just put a massive rack of like every plugin I can think of that warps and changes the sound, like Portal, Manipulator, things like that. And that's how I got this. I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch. You can see, it's a bunch of chopped up. It's just a bunch of different sounds that have been manipulated. The pattern of it, time stretching it, warping it in every way, and that's how I did a bunch of those. Well, that sounds like someone was about to spit, like a robot. Are we lagging again? Damn. And it all knits together nicely. Pretty much sounds like some sort of laser gun going off is what the goal is. Yeah, sorry about the lag. I've been trying to fix the connection, but it's kind of difficult. Move on to the next one. This is just like a trailer punch, so this is literally just like an impact that I just cut the sound off of it. Sounds really cool. Just to add a transient right before the next part of the drop. Those things I think are really important. That's just like a layer. A lot of just real simple growls on the kicks is really important to add layering. Like a lot of my songs, as you can probably tell by now, have a lot of little sounds in there that are making up one big sound. Instead of, it is layering in a way, but when people hear layering, they just kind of try and layer the same, like different sounds right on top of each other. But I like to do this because it's like you can't, no one's really going to be able to copy it if you're doing out a little tiny sounds. That's just for the snare, just a little bit of distortion. Like if I turn this off, hear the drums. They're all adding the texture. What else we got in here? That is a sound that I basically just cranked the comb filter on Serum, and then I put the Yeoman on it to give it that wide sound, and that's how I got that. So you can make really cool hype sounds and things like that, like for dubstep. Pretty simple. This here was a Sultan, one of the Sultan sounds. Again, just putting Manipulator and widening it a whole bunch, just to be like to counteract the flow. That's a sub that I didn't use. I've just got the Moog sub in there. Again, very separate. How's the connection? Is it back to normal? Let me know, guys. And then I basically, now I've made that first drop, and this is a cool thing with if you kind of with flow, like once you made one, instead of trying to go on to the next drop and completely starting from scratch, or being like, oh, I found a lot of people nowadays try and actually completely make a new, like it almost sounds like a different song, but you need to remember that this is all one song, so you gotta, it's a good thing to keep all the elements and just change them around a bit. Reverb and delay on drop synths. So I will use delay, but purely for the purpose. So like I'll show you what I do. So let me get like this sound, for example. I will not use reverb, or very rarely, or it will be very little, because I find that it gives off too much resonance and actually drowns your song out. And then you kind of spend a lot of time trying to figure out what sound's doing it, but it's kind of all these different sounds contributing. So I'll just try and keep the reverb fairly minimal, unless it's purposely supposed to have it. So like delay, though, I do use. I'll show you right now what I do. This is pretty much the Haas effect, really. I know there is I've got a few plugins for it, but I'll use the delay just to expand the stereo width. So I'll just go turn the BPM off, put the left and the right really close to each other, but not the same. Up the mix, sorry. I'll just do stuff like that, just to kind of widen it sometimes. Like I could probably put that in there. Sounds pretty cool. But yeah, that's I'll use delay for that purpose, but not really reverb a whole lot, to be honest. Or I use this kind of shimmer reverb effect, which is where you use a tiny bit to smooth over the sound. What else we got? The sub bass is sidechained, so if I go to here, but what it is, actually, did I sidechain this one? Oh, it's got the LFO tool on it, just to dip it. But I'll never sidechain compress. I think I went over this last time, but I'll just say it again. That if you want to get the cleanest, if you want your drums to pop through the sub as clean as possible, just use a volume shaper or automation. Like I started off generally just using volume automation, but in this one I use the LFO tool just to dip it every time. But if you use a compressor, it's a computer trying to read your sound, like read what's going on and try and drop it at the exact time, but it's never actually going to get it dead on. It's never going to be that perfectly clean.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Clean. Whereas if you're like me and you want it and it bothers you, then use this type of sidechain. I'll only use sidechain to kind of like see here. I've used it to shape the sub, and also there is no volume coming through when the kick hits. And I only use sidechain compression when I'm trying to, either like for vocals and stuff, I'll sidechain with the melody. You don't need always sidechain with drums. That's what most people think of, just drums straight away when they think of sidechaining, but it's actually a very good way to make different things pop through the mix. So if you've got like vocals or something, you can sidechain them to the main melody or whatever melody is in the same frequency range and make it dip every time. Or the other way I'll use it is in the drop. I'll use it to kind of make the flow more wavy or more bouncy. I'll use a sidechain compressor on like the melodies maybe with the kick, but just not for the purpose of making the kick punch through. Just to give it like a swing to it. What else we got? You can see that a lot of pretty much all my builds are very individually done. So like I try not to use like whole, like kind of mass sounds, like big atmospheric sounds with a riser in it and stuff like that. I like to individually kind of make each sound in the build so that it's, because that's the thing a lot of people struggle on, is trying to make their builds really interesting and authentic. And it's just simply work on the build just as much as you work on the drop. Do every little individual element yourself. Like do every drum sound yourself, kind of things like that. And that's how you'll get your own.
Let him finish.
The vocals are from, not all of them, but I found a lot of these from going through old-fashioned movie sounds and things like that. You can normally find a really cool horror, it doesn't have, for me it's horror, but for whatever sounds you want. It's just a bunch of people saying different shit.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
I don't know if there's any more to it, but yeah, it's just that vocal. And then the scary ones are again just different scoring packs of people scary laughing and shit like that. Second drop is just basically I've taken the elements from the first drop and just really switched up the flow, used one sound that might have been a background sound and made it a fundamental sound.
Let him finish.
This sound here, it is a shame that I can't pull apart the exact sound design, but I'm showing you this project mainly for the purpose of how much you can reinvent a sound that you've made or you find or whatever, because it's instead of just if you find a cool, say you find a cool sample on Splice, but you're worried that lots of other people are using it, just manipulate the hell out of it and make it something completely different. This one is actually the Yo Man that's giving it that whole kind of vocal wide sound, which is really important in this track. And then I've got these laser sounds again. These are new ones. And then adding again, as the drop's progressing, I'm adding more little elements, so it's getting more interesting as it goes along, getting more crazy. This sound here is like a kind of weird cheer that I put a comb filter on. Call and response, do you mean the kind of how the melodies flow? I can go over that. I just basically, let me go on to it. So, I'll start obviously with one sound. I think I did actually have just that sound in there. And I went back to it a day later and decided that it wasn't good enough. And I thought, what can I just pretty much try and emphasize the, every gap or any area that I feel I don't know about you guys, but when I hear a song, my brain kind of goes, oh, something should go in there, or it feels like your brain's kind of writing it for you, what parts should go where, and any parts you get that urge, I just add something in. So the gaps, I noticed this one has that kind of swing to it, so I was on every actual swing part, I'll add an extra sound. And then I do it again on the second half to emphasize those parts. It's hard to explain exactly how I do it because my brain's a bit weird, I guess. But it's is just a whole bunch of experimentation, and like I didn't just drop that in there and it worked. Like I had to sit there and throw things around until, you know, I find as soon as it sets off that spark in your head, you're like, oh, you know, that's I'll just mess around until I kind of get some sort of flow going. It's never like I can just sit here and drop a flow straight away.
Let's get a few facts straight, shall we?
Okay, so this one.
Get the fuck out of the way.
There's basically there's I'm streaming. There's this one here is a vocal lead, which was I think it was actually someone laughing or pretty sure it was someone laughing, like an old style vocal lead, just like in the actual pre-vocal drops. And I put manipulator on it and expanded the stereo width and then put Yeoman on it, and it gave me this. And that was literally just a vocal sound. And then I ended up making the whole last drop off of that sound. Like if I play it on its own. Just adds, I like the stereo width it adds to it. How much time have I got left? I got 9 minutes. Oh shit. What do you guys want from me? What do you want to see? You got 9 minutes. I guess I could go through real quick and show you something until I get a question. You know what I could do? I could show you guys some unreleased music, maybe. What do I got here? Hamanu, what's up, man? I'll show you an unreleased tune, I guess. Sustain bass. Okay, I'll do that. While I'm loading up a new project, I'll play an unreleased tune for you, though. New project, don't save. I'll play this tune for you real quick. Looks like it's gonna. I'll just drag it into the project so I can really quick show you this. This new song with a friend of mine. I'm not telling you who it is because it's a secret. Yeah, so that's just a teaser. Anyway, sustains. So I'll generally start with, I'm going to go through this quickly, but you guys can just re-watch over it, so that's fine. I've got 7 minutes to make something cool. So I'll go through, I'm going to pick a random bass table just to show you that you don't necessarily need to find something that's really cool straight away. Okay, that's cool. And then I'll add a little bit of movement by just simply getting a LFO, and I'll generally just do little amounts just to get something. Okay, that's like just a little bit of movements. You know, pitch it down, pitch it up. See, it's already kind of getting that growly tone that I add. I'll make it a bit more rounded LFO. Actually, no. And then I'll add another, some other sound, maybe spectral because it's more lighter sounds. And then I'll add this in a little bit. Maybe FM it. I don't always FM, but... Alright, so once I got something going, is when I will I will use a bunch of effects and LFO them in and out to create this process. So like I'll go maybe the comb filter, we'll try that, and I'll LFO it in and out, and I'll do a certain shape. I'll just experiment with shapes until I get something. So I'm going to put another one on the cutoff. Maybe just make it flick in and out, just to add a little bit more like flavor to it. And then I'll maybe add, what else have we got? I could add something else random. I'm being completely random here. And I'll LFO that too. I'm gonna go even more. Pick what else. Get rid of this, make it more sustained. And then I'll try and process some more. This is a pretty cool sound. Not the best, not my best, but it's a cool sound. Loading. But the main point I want you to get from this, me showing you this, is LFO your effects. Like if I get another one, maybe ring mode. Phase it maybe, turn the rate down. And then I'll go through and do some really crazy processing. You know, that's pretty cool. This is where it gets crazy. What else do I have? I could add, this is a really cool one. Not the Yo-Man, sorry, the chorus. Oh no, it's the frequency shifter. Messing with this is really cool, the DTMF. But instead of just chucking it on there, mess with the frequency, the shape of the LFO, and the amount. Let me try putting this after. Not as good. And then once I've got that, so once you've got something down, if you like it or not, is then you can now go back and go, what else can I do? I'm going to be completely random again. This noise, I'm going to add a, what's this? And that's pretty much like, that's the approach I'll go to making a sustain. Let me go. Not always using this, of course, but. Yeah, I'm glad. I hope this inspires you to do some stuff. I'm gonna get weirder. How many? I've got like 2 minutes. I'm gonna modulate the pitch. Where's one that I made that was super weird? Before I go. Also, thank you guys for coming in, and I do apologize for the internet. It has been difficult to try and get a good signal anywhere I've gone, so. Here's one that I made, which was literally me sitting here being random as hell, messing with presets. You know, it's basically just being as weird as you possibly can. Like that's probably the best advice I could give you, is just sitting there and absolutely changing the pitches drastically, make them move up and down, put 10 warping shit on it, and then it just basically turns the whole thing inside out to another world. And then from there, you go, okay, now it's a brand new sound. How am I going to make this process this? It's like Mario. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys, and feel free to give me a message if you want any more questions about this, and I'd be happy to help. But I'm glad I got to show you Odious and how like everything panned out, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.